kind of like the dirty little secret of our industry. Most people do not have 2 to 3 hours a day of prospecting in their calendar. And when you then look at the fact that 60% of the deals are done by 4% of the top agents, you really start to understand why that is. Hey everybody, welcome to the show today. I am super excited. It's always fascinating to see how new people enter your life. So a couple episodes ago, we had Sasha, an awesome realtor who's in the core coaching program, and she connected me with someone. She said, you absolutely have to talk to this guy. He's out of Washington. He's doing really cool stuff, but overall, his episode will be very different than mine, and your listeners will get something different. So everybody, welcome Jon Bye to the show. Jon, I'm really pumped to have you today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Matt. I'm excited.
So in this market, I don't want to say anything negative about it because there are a lot of people who are doing well through it, but it's different. And people, we all understand that we need to be doing different things. And what got us results from like 2015 to 2019, when it was fairly easy to close a deal, might not necessarily be the same as what's getting us there now. And I know when we talked previously, and this is us just getting right into it, right? Like, oh, yeah. No small talk. But you mentioned that, back in the day, your business, you've been in the business for 20 years, you had a lot of business coming from your sphere of influence, your database. And that's been like every guest I've had on the show for the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. But then you told me that is not where your business is coming from this year. Where is it coming from?
Yes. So, the business always comes from there, but I would say just right now, there's just not as much of that. So I don't think you can count on it like we've counted on it in the years past. So for us, for the last 10 years, it's really been building our business to business relationship and going kind of across, not doing the traditional type things when it comes to how most agents build their business and how most people are guided to build their business. It's just, you got to go a different direction. It's just like, you got to be different. And in any market, I think you have to be different. You always have to be standing out and building different relationships. So for us, we've done a very good job and still crush it in our database business. But what if they're not doing anything? And what are you going to do about it, right? If that's not there.
Yeah. So I think most agents in different markets are hearing a lot of this like locked in effect business from that verbiage of locked in effect from their clients, right? Like, they bought with you. You were their favorite realtor ever, right? Like, you helped them buy a house, their dream house, at 3% interest, and now rates are at 8 or whatever the heck they are when this episode drops. And so a couple of them might move here and there, but a lot of them just feel like they're in a good spot. They're going to stay, and we don't know when they're going to move. And no amount of great marketing is going to make them move. So who are the people that you guys are finding? Like, what are the life situations? What are the circumstances of the people that you're working with today? Like, what is this year looking like for you? What traits could other realtors look for and spot in their database or in their community that might lead to some sales?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now it's life event stuff. The life event stuff always happens, but right now that's really that's the majority of things that are happening are life event type transactions. So this is death, divorce. This is outgrowing the home that you're in and you need more space, no matter what the rates are. If there's no room in the house, you've got to make a move, right?
And it's would be nice to have a little bit more space. You're talking about you physically had 3 more kids. You just had twins, triplets, whatever. You absolutely need more space to survive.
You got it. So it's the absolute, right? It's took a job transfer, right? And you're moving out of state. Well, can't keep the house, or you're coming into the state, right? So people that are moving, also people that are downsizing into smaller homes on that same note, and or moving into like retirement home facilities or 55 and over communities, like people that are making that lifestyle change that have a whole bunch of equity in their house, right? And maybe they're making a cash purchase on the other end or going into a facility where it's not a purchase piece, it's a monthly cost type scenario. But these are people that have to make that move, right? Like, they don't have a choice.
So let's dwell on that one a little bit, because I know Inman, one of the news publications I follow, just put something out that said something like 60% of realtors' transactions right now are coming from the 55 and up community on the listing side, because they own their homes outright. They're not afraid to sell. Another portion of them is aging out of living independently and they need to move to one of these types of places. So how are you getting those referrals? Because I teach agents to look at Facebook, call your clients, see what's going on in their life. But I feel like that's an oddly sensitive topic, right? I feel like everyone
Mhm.
talks about their divorce, but like people don't always post on Facebook about to move into an old person's home. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
how have you gotten, and I'm not trying to make fun of a
No,
real situation, right? But I
yeah.
want to understand like how a realtor could spot those opportunities, or how you might get some of those at bats on the
Yeah.
55 and up, or I mean, it's probably closer to 65 and up. My parents are well over that, but other people at 50 might not be. A lot of my business loan officers are 55. They might hear this and get offended, but where are you getting those at bats?
So you have to build a relationship with the other person that's consulting them on what's happening. So that's the ticket, right? So you have to know that attorney that's helping the client through the divorce. You have to know the attorney that's helping settle the family's estate. You have to know the person at the senior living facility. You have to know the site agent at the 55 and over place. You have to know the financial advisor that is advising them on what makes the best move for their situation in their retirement right now. So you really need to just put on your cap of who else is helping them guide them through this decision. And that is how you get the at bats. Yes, you'll be able to get some of those at bats like with the people that you already have. And you might need to let them know that, hey, we align with all of these people. So if you need good referrals, like let us know. But a lot of it starts with the other professional.
Real estate has a lot of contracts. I want this podcast to have a social contract as well. Here's what I need from you. If you're listening to the show and you get something valuable out of it, or you hear something that you think that's awesome, I want you to send me a DM on Instagram, or if you find my email, send it that way. The more feedback that I get helps me to put together better shows and attract better guests. I love that. So this brings up a couple things, right? Because people listening, I feel like a lot of them are in the car usually, and they hear things, and I don't want them to gloss this one over. Number one, you guys can look in your current database of past clients, of friends, of professional contacts, and think, who is serving people going through life changes? That's step one. Like, start with the people that you already know, I'm assuming, and then reach out to them to set that meeting to let them know, like, hey, I know most realtors market to you and they just want to sell your house.
Mhm.
I want to refer business back and forth to you. And I think too many of us in sales, our customers just think we want that one sale from them once every 10 years. And that's shallow, right? Like, we want to be in a relationship professionally, not just a transactional one. The second step is probably then looking to see what holes are in your professional network. So I'm assuming it's, John just mentioned having some connections that are the signing agents at those assisted living facilities. I don't have one of those in my network. So I
Mhm.
almost think maybe I need to have a goal that when I'm out there in the community this week, I need to meet someone like that. So every person I talk to, I'm going to ask, do you know someone that does X? And make it a goal to have that, right? Like Sasha in her episode mentioned networking with a purpose. And every time she's out, she has a goal of like what type of person or who specifically she wants to connect with. And I feel like that could work really well in tandem with your strategy. Is that kind of a version of what you're doing here?
Absolutely. And one thing too is as you're calling just through your database, right? It's like, hey Matt, like I just wanted to connect, check in, see how things are going. And I'm really looking to like beef up my professional networks. Like, and these are the categories that I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for good estate planning attorneys. I'm looking for good financial advisors, a good insurance broker, right? Like all these areas. Do you know somebody? And if they say no, guess what? Do you need a good recommendation to somebody? So now you get the opportunity to give a referral as well, right? But if you don't know, if they do have somebody and you don't know them, then it's like, man, Matt, is it okay if I reach out to them and name drop you? Like, I'd love to get an opportunity to meet with them. You speak so highly of them. You know, they're a 10 out of 10. So it gives you an opportunity to ask the right questions. And then there's really, it puts us in a great situation because we're either going to get the opportunity for a new introduction or we're going to be able to give them a referral to somebody else we already know.
Well, and I think like when you really think about it, that solves the fundamental problem that all salespeople have, right? Like every salesperson out there at every conference, at every marketing event, their broker or a presenter is telling them, you just need to call your database. You just need to call your people. But the reason they're not doing it is because they really don't feel like they have anything valuable to say. But if
Mhm.
every time you made a call, your goal was to refer them to someone and to get a referral to someone else they know, that's easy. Like I need John, I need a babysitter for tomorrow night. Like if you know any babysitters in Grand Rapids, Michigan, refer them over to me because that's the most important thing. I cannot get to my professional networking black tie event with my lovely wife unless we find a sitter for Thursday. But think of
Yep.
like all of the other business professionals. Like a realtor, in my opinion, is better poised to give referrals than any other profession on the planet. Now, if anyone wants to challenge me, you can hit me up on Instagram. But I mean, like, think of all the home service professionals out there that your clients might need, right? Think of the community though. You have clients moving here, moving wherever you are from all over the country or world, and they don't know people. They might need like a something for their kids, like a swim school for their kids to go to. They might need a new church, a new volleyball league, like whatever they're into personally, they need that in your community. And a realtor should be a community expert in addition to just knowing about what a house is worth. So I think we all need to lean into collecting and giving out more referrals. Now, do you track those, John? Like, I know you're doing it all the time. And in 20 years into your career, you're doing it like unconsciously sometimes.
Oh yeah.
How are you tracking the referrals that you're giving? I think most realtors track the ones they receive,
Mhm.
but do you track the other side?
So we don't necessarily really track the other side. It's
Okay.
more of talking points, and then through that opens up the opportunities. It's not a bad idea to track them, but I think realistically for most people, like let's be real, Matt. Most people can't even track their own leads, let alone giving it like tracking leads that they give out. So I
Let's
think that
walk before we can run.
yeah. So it's like this is the intention. I got a piece of paper. After I make have the call, then I put it on my to-do list on my daily printed calendar and I make sure the introduction gets made, right? And then through there, make a note in the CRM or do whatever, then you can check in when you call again, see if that introduction went well, stuff like that. But
That's
I'm
huge.
not a big like
That's really
metric
big though. Like I don't want to gloss over that. So you make the referral, and then the thing you added was that you then check in. Like talk more about that for a second, because I think
guy.
that's where most people don't refer well, and most people who aren't in real estate specifically, like they're not used to making referrals. So talk to us about that. Like what's that second step?
Yeah. Well, the one thing is that once you do that, you going back to what you initially said, people don't know what to say when they call. Well, it's like, Matt, you needed a good CPA, and I'm going to get you to my guy, Eric Wilsey. He's my top notch guy. So I give him a call. I'm going to make an introduction and I'm going to follow up and check in and make sure things are going good. Then just put a little reminder in your calendar. And then guess what? I get to call my CPA and say, hey, Eric, I just introduced you to Matt. He's freaking awesome. He's going to be reaching out. If he doesn't call you, let me know, right? I want to make sure this connection gets made. Hang up, right? And then a week or two later, I get to call you and check in. I get to call Eric again and check in. Like, hey, how's that lead going? How's that referral going? Right. So it gives us that ammo to continue to make these calls, right? And that's the tricky part is people don't know what to say, why to call, who to call, or when. And this is just filling all of that.
I love that. It's ammunition for calls. So like how I
Yeah.
do a version of that, right, is like I made a referral yesterday from one realtor to a estate planning attorney, and I put in my calendar for next week, Monday, check in with both attorney and realtor, see if they were able to connect for lunch.
Yep.
Because like we all get busy and like it could get missed just for one of them was on vacation. Then the other guy's like, oh, that a-hole never got back with me. Like, and I want to
Yep.
be the one that makes sure that good people I know are connected. Right. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an $800,000 referral to send to the realtor this week, but I want him to like me. And I don't
Yeah.
have a new estate plan for my family that I need this week. And I want him to like me. So I'm hoping that by making this connection, I'm giving both of them value. And that's why this referral stuff is so big. It's more than just referring someone exactly what they do. It can be the networking side. So something really impactful, John, that you said to me when we were chatting before is that you set time aside and that you make a conscious effort to network with other networkers. So
Yes.
aside from just, calling on divorce attorneys and people that might have clients for you, talk to me about the networking with networkers. Cause I thought number one, it's alliterative, which will probably be the title of this podcast, but it sounds sexy, but
Yeah.
also it sounds like something I haven't heard before. So talk about it.
Well, that's really the next level of the professional introduction. It's just very easy. All of those folks that we just talked about are also networking salespeople, have referral based business, and are client facing all the time. So it's really, once you have these introductions now, like you got to continue to work on them. You got to keep calling them. You got to get in their lives. You got to invite them to events. You got to sponsor their events. You got to go to their events, right? And that's where you start building the rapport and the relationship, which takes things to the next level. So that all these people are just like us. They're all small business owners, have their own shop or work at a big firm, but they're responsible for a book of business. So those people are networkers. They might not think that they're salespeople. They're just sitting there back waiting, but they all want referrals and they're all talking to other people. So that's where it's the networking with the networkers. Now, you can go to networking events, right? And network with those people that are obviously networking with others. My personal opinion, though, is that it's more beneficial for you to do the outreach and work to build that relationship more grassroots than going to an event. I think most of the people that move the needle at a really high level don't go to those things.
I would agree. I mean, I think there's, if you look at the board of realtors in almost any area and you look at the sheer amount of events that are being had, you typically don't see the top producers at a lot of those events. Not to knock them, but making your 50 calls a day takes a lot of time. So it's just picking your events wisely, and I think going in with a purpose can really help. But picking those events very, very selectively, and that kind of brings in another point. So you mentioned that one of your secret powers in your real estate business that you've been building slowly, like delayed gratification over the last 20 years, is this concept of layering. And I think that really ties into what you just said. So walk us through what your definition of layering is and how you've been doing it.
Yeah. So when you look at, as you're doing outreach and connecting with clients and building new relationships, you want to try to hit them from all different avenues, right? So when we talk about, all the different things that we do in our business, whether that's from mailing to personal notes to video to social media, email campaigns, like all these things, events that we go to, events that we host, it's like, okay, how many of these areas can I target and be involved in Matt's world, right? So you're going to get all these things no matter what. It's like clockwork. But through a conversation, you say, hey, like, I got this black tie event that's coming up on Thursday. I'm like, man, tell me more. Like, what's going on? What's it for? Are there ways I can get involved? Do you have any extra seats at your table? Right now, can I come in and get involved in a different way? Then through that, hey, is there other people that I can meet at that event? And then try to make more introductions and really be an advocate. So the more that you can kind of attack from different areas and bring value and stay top of mind, the better it will be. I made the example earlier of the marketing that I do within my neighborhood, right? So, they get videos, they get mail, they get calls, they see my signs in the neighborhood, but they also see me at events. They see me walking around the neighborhood. They see me at the local coffee shop. They see me at the events that I'm hosting, at the big neighborhood meetings. So all of these different things, but you're approaching them and making connections in all sorts of different ways. And the best thing is the social proof, right? So as you get more clients and as you earn more respect and you become the go-to person, then now your neighbors are talking to neighbors about you, right? All this stuff is happening behind the scenes and you have no idea. That's the beauty of this business and also the most challenging part of this business because you don't really know what's going on. Like the more you're doing, like there's all this activity that's going on out there, but you're not really sure what's sticking, why certain things are sticking. So the more you can do, the better off you'll be.
Neighborhood Realtor Podcast is proudly made possible by the support of our sponsors, Treadstone Funding and Neighborhood Loans, two amazing Midwest mortgage companies that now have offices all around the country. If you're a real estate agent looking to partner with an amazing lender, DM me at mattmuska88 and I'll connect you with someone in your market. If you're a lender and you want to join the right mortgage company, DM me and I'll connect you as well. Part of layering for me too is a lot of salespeople start a lot of new things from a marketing and sales perspective all the time, but then they like do it for a year and then the next year they do something completely different. And so for me, part of it is, all right, we're going to start with like a general neighborhood farm to the neighborhood you live in. Cause I think like we all agree that that's like a basic form of marketing everyone should be hitting because you're going to be upset when your neighbor lists with some other agent.
Absolutely.
But if year one, you can just make sure that mailer goes out with great information once every other month. And then year two, you want to add in, okay, I'm now going to host a neighborhood event. And that's going to be one adult and one kid event per year. And year three, I'm going to now do office hours at the local coffee shop 3 days a week. And year four, I'm going to add something else in. But you're still doing those things from year one, two, and three, and not just giving up on them because you didn't get a listing day one. And I think in this market, that's especially big, right? Like, don't give up on the marketing you've been doing for years just because this market's a little bit more challenging and is operating in different ways. It's important to keep stuff going and to then layer in different types of activities so that you can be omnipresent. Because you never know, like everyone responds to different triggers and different stimuli in their environment.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you spend all this darn money, don't give up. Like the thing is that you're not going to see the results, but the challenge is when the market gets tough, most people stop doing this activity because they haven't saved properly. They don't have the funds to do it. They're just straight up scared. Like all sorts of things. Like, no, you're running a business, right? Like we get the best, like the art industries are just so amazing. Like we don't have to worry about having $100,000 worth of product on our shelves that we're paying a loan on, right? It's like we're talking about reasonable costs, but over time you have to do it and you have to keep doing it. Like it's very important.
When I know, like, I've seen some of your videos on social, and you're not necessarily like social media isn't like your main thing, but it's part of the overall strategy to stay present. You've been doing what, a video a week for how long now?
For 3 years straight.
3 years. And
Yeah.
right, you're probably not getting calls from people that are saying, "Hi, John, I'd like to buy $1 million property. I saw your video 2.5 weeks ago." That's
Yeah.
probably not it. What is the reality of why you continue to do this and what it means for your business?
I think a lot of the things that we do is we're constantly building foundational building blocks within our business. So what I like to do is the reason that you see a video from me every single Tuesday over and over and over again, regardless if you look at it, if you delete it, whatever it is, we're showing to people that know us and see us is that we have structure. I have a commitment to this business. If I can do this every single week for 3 years, like I'm probably going to take pretty darn good care of you if you jump in. Obviously, we have a process. There's a way that we do our business. So the challenge is people start and stop and they're not consistent and they do random things here and random things there. Well, that's just really an insight into how your business operates. And that's not
Absolutely.
good.
If you have the kinds of people that have systems in their marketing, typically have systems in their business also, and that's, I think clients can really see that.
Mhm.
So, you're not alone. I know you have a really great team behind you, including your wife.
Yes.
Walk us through what the team looks like and what the production was like last year, and then where you guys are at this year to date.
Yep. So last year, 114 sales, 68 of those were listings last year. And right now, this year, we're that was about $75 million in production. That's with 12 of us total, so six support staff, six salespeople, including myself and my wife. And then this year, we're currently at 80 closed transactions, about 65 million in production. So right now, knock on wood, right? Like, we should be able to surpass last year's numbers. So should be good.
What are you guys doing anything to ensure that you hit those, or what are the daily tasks that those agents on your team are hitting? Obviously, you've been in the business for 20 years. We know a little of what you're doing: professional, vendors, etc., networking with networkers. What are the non-negotiables for those on the team?
Yep. Well, it's one is you got to have the plan of attack. So daily team meetings, executing your daily printed calendar, setting out those goals every day, operating in more productive time. So more green time than red time. So that would be more sales types activities versus behind the scenes clerical activities. Like you have to be in front of people. We have a team here to help support you with all those other items that need to get done. But as a salesperson, you need to be making calls, visiting people, building relationships, and helping people accomplish their real estate goals.
This one is fascinating to me because it's kind of like the dirty little secret of our industry. If I were to go to a realtor event
Mhm.
and I were to make everybody freeze and show me their calendar of what they have scheduled for the next couple of days, most realtors would have very little real estate related activities in their calendar, right? Like there'd be some important stuff like maybe a random date night with your wife, maybe pick up the kids from karate. But most people do not have 2 to 3 hours a day of prospecting in their calendar. Most people do not have mandatory lunches, daily team meetings, things of that nature. And when you then look at the fact that 60% of the deals are done by 4% of the top agents, you really start to understand why that is. So John just said it. He makes his team do it. I'm saying it. Look at your calendar. Your success 30, 60, and 90 days out is directly related to how many real estate related activities are in your calendar. Now, if you're new and you don't have 2 hours of people to call every single day, start getting specific on the types of people that you want to meet. Start figuring out how many open houses can I do for other agents within my brokerage. If you don't have, John used this word ammunition before, every person you're calling, you need to have some ammunition when you're making that call. But if you're a new agent and you don't feel like you have that ammunition, borrow that from the other agents at your brokerage or the other agents in your industry. What you mentioned, referrals from other realtors. How are you kind of fostering the referrals from other agents? Because obviously some people look at them as competition, but I think those of us who've been around for a while typically can see the value there.
Yeah. So there's like a couple different ways when you talk about referrals from other agents. So you're either, I think the first thing is people are like, people that are out of state, right? That have folks that are moving here. So what is your branch and connection to network with other people that are out of the area? And I think as if you're new, it starts with when you have clients that are leaving, like you need to go start fostering these relationships and start building this network of people that you're referring out to so that now you're top of mind when people are coming the opposite direction. And then you have agents that are here locally that, depending on where you're at, it could be a long ways away. Like, there's a lot of businesses done up and down the I-5 corridor here from Canada to Oregon, right? Well, I can't cover all of that. Like, there's just no way. And there's other people that are not going to do that either. So a lot of people, there's more referral sources an hour and a half away from you that you're just not even calling. So why wouldn't you have access to all their information? Like, look in the MLS. Like, okay, like I'm going to target these different brokerages or maybe my own company, but it's in different areas. And I'm going to start networking or saying like, hey, I'm here. If you have questions, like we'll make sure to take great care of them. So that's the second one. The third one is commercial realtors, right? Like there's this huge bridge between like residential agents and commercial agents. Nobody talks to each other. I don't know why. I think it's silly. It's super silly. So, but the main reason is that the conception is that from residential agents to commercial agents is they just don't do a good job. They don't answer the calls. Like it's just different. So they have this perspective, and all the commercial agents are like, oh, they're just a bunch of, part-timers that don't take this seriously. So nobody refers anybody. So be the foster of those relationships. Go out there, go to those brokerages, meet those agents, let them know through your actions how good you are and how good your team is. And then you're going to get some of those at bats. And then the last one is agents that are retiring. Like there's a lot of people right now that are just calling it quits, right? If you were in the heyday, you're at the end of your career, 2000, 2020, 2021, even 2022. Now you're like, man, I just made the last of it and I'm out, right? So you should probably try to find those people and see if there's ways you can take over those business so those clients don't get orphaned.
Well, and what's fascinating is that such a tangible activity, because I know in most markets, most associations literally publish a list of those realtors who did not renew their license. I mean, if you remember and you get that list in your email every single month, it would take you all of an hour to make those phone calls. And again, that's something you could do every single month in a repeated action. Your commercial example, though, was fascinating to me because I've never really thought about it this way. When people are using a commercial realtor, they're selling their building, selling their business oftentimes. Mm-hmm. And what happens when someone sells a business, right? It's another big life move. They're either moving out of state, it's finally time to go to Florida, or they had to sell the business because things weren't going so well, and they might need to downsize some of their house. Maybe there's bankruptcy involved. I mean, like, I would call the top 10 commercial agents in every single market a couple times a year, take them to lunch, because there's probably a lot of good business there. And then your more successful clients, they're starting businesses, they're buying commercial properties, they're super savvy. I mean, that is such a no-brainer. And I don't hear that one very often from the realtors that I speak to. So John, thank you. I mean, these tips have been awesome. If someone wanted to call you to pick your brain on how you do some of this stuff, or to send a referral your way in Washington, how would they get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're looking anything in Washington, obviously we can't cover all the ground, but we have a great network of other agents all across the area, right? So, the biggest thing is just to go to our website or Google us, right? So if you just Google Jon Bye & Associates, you can check out our reviews. tons of social proof. Email, you can call in here to the office, into my team, get in my calendar. And that's really the best thing is, it's, the people that you're referring to, like, you got to check them out. Like, I'll leave with one last tidbit is like, if you don't got a lot of Google reviews, go get some. People are looking. People are looking.
How can you possibly expect to get referrals if you can't be found online?
That's what I'm
why
saying.
would I trust you to market my property if you can't market yourself?
It's pretty simple, right?
It should be simpler than it is, but people don't do it. So guys, speaking of reviews, take a second. If you want more great guests like Jon, drop a review on the podcast store. I would pay you if I could, but I don't know who you are all the time. If you tell me you left a review, I'll buy you a drink the next time I'm with you. Reviews help us get more great guests, more great listeners. So, Jon, thanks for your time today. And everyone, thanks for tuning in.